Parliament has rejected the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission move to introduce campaign financing limits in next year's general election. Consequently, the August 9, 2022 general election, that is also a transition on President Uhuru Kenyatta's succession race, is now poised to be the next expensive poll as parties and candidates spend money to lure voters. Our senior political affairs reporter Patrick Amimo has more.
On 5th August 2021, the National Assembly was seized of the IEBC draft election campaign financing regulations submitted by the IEBC. The electoral body wanted Parliament to approve the new tough rules that, among other things, wanted political parties and candidates to open campaign financing accounts, financing expenditure committees, and appoint authorized persons to manage campaign funds at least 2 months before elections. On 9th August 2021, IEBC gazetted contributions and spending limits for political parties and candidates for 2022 polls. After consideration of IEBC proposals, the Committee on Delegated Legislation rallied members to reject the regulations, accusing IEBC of mischief and missing timelines required in law.
We are now gazetting notice number 8024 on contributions and spending limits for political parties and candidates for the purposes of the general elections scheduled to be held on 9th August 2022, published by IEBC on 9th August 2021. Number 2, we reject the publication of the draft election campaign financing regulations by the Independent Election and Boundaries Commission.
The public participation record that was brought to the committee was actually the one that was done in 2016. By all means, any business in the life of a parliament or a session actually dies without parliament.
In the IEBC Gazette notice, IEBC set spending for presidential candidates to a maximum of 4.4 billion shillings. Senators, governors, and women representative aspirants were to spend a maximum of 123 million shillings. The maximum ceilings for members of the National Assembly varied from a low of 13 million shillings in Mahara constituency in Tharaka Nithi County to a high of 94 million shillings in North Horr constituency, depending on population and landmass. Members of the county assembly ceilings also varied from a low of 2.5 million shillings in Ziwani Karioko ward in Nairobi County to a high of 20 million shillings in Turbi ward, Marsabit County. Political parties were to spend a maximum of 17 billion shillings for the 2022 campaigns.
We are not even sure who they consulted when they said a presidential candidate can spend 4 billion in an election, in a presidential election.
What ceilings? They are giving a presidential candidate to spend 4 billion. Where are we going to? Where is the president going to get 4 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker? That's actually a lie. A presidential candidate should spend not more than 1 billion. Even that is too high.
It goes to the bigger question of really the preparedness of IEBC in terms of giving hope to Kenyans that they are up to the task of conducting free and fair elections come next year.
The Election Campaign Financing Act has never been operationalized to date since 2013. In 2017, Parliament suspended its implementation until immediately after the general election. MPs have again conveniently shifted goalposts based on technicalities.
I think the intention of containing expenditures in elections is important. They should do it procedurally, but it's extremely important. It's important because, apart from the fact that it can exclude, or it does exclude, those in the community who may be able to contribute effectively to leadership because they can't afford it, it also frustrates the efforts of getting the affirmative actions in place. You can't get youth in easily. The youth generally don't have the money. You can't get the women in easily. Now that we have women billionaires now, but they're a tiny minority.
Lack of regulations to check on campaign financing and sources of funds has been blamed for the runaway corruption and expensive polls in Kenya, with elected leadership positions becoming a club of the rich. Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
And we have the members of